guys. I thought as a gift to all of you this year, especially in the new year, I thought it would be fun to have a free kind of class on my YouTube. So at the beginning of the year, for me, I like it as a time to be really looking forward to the future, a time to reset, a time to set small goals, nothing that makes me feel bad, and just regroup. Like, what did I accomplish this year? What do I want to do this year? And what brings me joy? What am I grateful for? Those kinds of things. And so I thought that this year we could make a self-care journal. And my goal is to, in January, release a class a week where we do certain spreads with the theme in our self-care journals. And I have ideas for that. And basically, the journals are really simple and easy to make. So I thought today I would give you a little sneak peek about what we're going to be doing and talk about some of the things that we might need to make the journal. So that it's going to be a very simple construction that pretty much anybody could do. So even if you're not used to bookbinding, this is going to be easy. And I'll show you, we're going to be making some of these. It's going to be really fun. And I've been using these a lot over the years to kind of help keep me on track. I use them as calendars. I use them for all different kinds of things. But I thought we could make one together. And then in January, I'll start rolling out ideas for what we're going to work on each week. Kind of like a fun little class/assignment. So the first thing I thought we would do today is just to actually make the journal. And these are about as easy as they can get. So because I'm limited with screen time, I'm not going to have you watch me do all this by hand, but I got a head start. So essentially, we're going to be making the inside of our pages 8.5 by 11, and we're going to fold them in half. So these are going to be the inside pages. Our cover only needs to be slightly bigger. So our cover is probably going to be 9. So we probably have like an extra ½ inch here. So probably 9. Well, actually, this would be 9. So 9 inches by almost 12 inches. So the cover, and then the inside could be 8.5 by 11. So what I use for my cover is just a piece of watercolor paper that was like 90 pounds or higher, something like that. So it's flexible, but it makes a nice cover. So these covers are kind of bendable, flexible, but they don't get bent out of shape. You can even throw them in your purse, whatever. So you're going to take a piece of 9 by 12-ish, or almost 12, watercolor paper. And what you can do for the cover is up to you. So I decided to just paint mine with Dina Wakley sprays. Sprays are just the fastest way for me to get paint on a page. So I literally just sprayed a bunch of colors on here. And then I went through with my stencil favorite, actually, no, this is Organic Shapes. One of my Organic Shape stencils, and just added some patterns with that and some Posca pens. So that's just one way. I mean, you could just paint swaths of color and then do stencils and markings like I did. You can do watercolors if you want, like a really pretty watercolor wash. Whatever floats your boat, or you can just use this as something to glue paper on. So here I glued paper. This is like scrapbook paper that I like to use because this is going to be the inside pages. So for your pages, you can be as simple as you want. You could use copy paper. We're not going to be doing anything too crazy. We are going to do some collage on the pages and some stenciling and things like that. You could do cardstock, but a very, very lightweight cardstock could be your pages. You could do some all natural watercolor paper. This is like cotton watercolor paper. This could look nice. There's no rules. I mean, you really can just use whatever you want. What I like to use for these, because I'm lazy and I don't want to do a lot of work, is I like double-sided scrapbook paper that's 12 by 12. And what I do is I trim it down to 8.5 by 11. So this scrapbook paper is textured, has some pretty print on it. And if I cut it down to 8.5 by 11, I can use it for my art journaling. This paper is from the Craft Consortium. I got it initially at, I think a couple of years ago, I found small ones. So they have 6 by 6 ones, which are really pretty. And I got them at a store called Papercraft Clubhouse. She had them. She has tons of paper. She does sell online, so that's a good place to start for sure. Or any of your other craft stores. And again, I'm looking for double-sided so that I have less work to do. If it's one print on one side and white on the other, then I have to like add color to the other, which some people might like. But Tim Holtz, the Ideology line, has a lot of double-sided papers. I don't know if they're still doing the 12 by 12s, and those might be a little too busy. So if you hunt around for 12 by 12 double-sided. That way you have paper that has 2 sides to it. So once you cut it down, the inside of the books, I have a whole bunch here that I cut up. Okay, I'm going to move my cover. And we're just going to fold them in half. So I like to use 12 sheets. That's about as many as I can use before it starts to get too bulky. And it leaves enough room for me to have enough space when the book is closed to leave room for collage. Because for me, personally, when I'm adding collage, it's usually done on watercolor paper. That's just how I work, or a heavy cardstock. So it's kind of thick. So 12 sheets is what I'm using. You can use a little bit more, a little bit less. And we're only making one signature. So in book binding, usually books have more than one signature. But when you only have one signature in a book, it's called a pamphlet book, because pamphlets usually have just one signature and one string, that kind of thing. So I like this because it's the easiest way to go. It's the least amount of work. And you can arrange them however you want. I try to kind of have it make some sort of sense. But not always, just so it kind of goes together. There's some blues. So I get them all lined up how I like them. And I'm just literally putting like one inside the other, inside the other, inside the other. Now what happens when you do a pamphlet, okay, is your inside peepers are gonna start to stick out. They're not gonna all just be lined up, okay? So what you can do is you can go ahead back to your peeper trimmer and trim some of the inside ones. So I don't have my peeper trimmer here, but I would take out a grouping in the center and cut them. I should really get one of those slicers for my desk. I have an old-fashioned paper cutter and it's huge. So I'm just going to do this by hand and hope for the best. It's probably going to look kind of crappy, but that's okay. It won't really be as apparent once it's in there. So if you trim a couple in the center, and you can kind of trim the second batch, so like take another 2 or 3 and cut them just slightly. You can trim this down a little. It doesn't bother me too much. The next thing you're gonna do is take your cover. Okay. Now, the other reason for trimming these, okay, is so you have a little bit more room on your cover. And I'm just gonna double check I have enough room. So you can see here, if I trim my covers down, I have a little bit of space. And I'm lazy. I call myself the lazy bookbinder. So instead of measuring, which I could do, let's see. I'm not gonna measure, I'm just too lazy. Okay. You could find the middle and do this, but I'm just gonna do it the lazy way. I'm gonna line my cover up so it's not sticking out. It's just lined up at the edge with a little room on the inside. And I'm gonna take, this is called a bone folder. And I'm going to score my cover. And then I'm going to move over like the 1/8 of an inch and score my cover again. So that way I have 2 lines. I don't know if you can see that in this horrible lighting. See the 2 lines? And I'm gonna fold on both. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is I'm making a very simple spine. Okay, so you can see it's just pretty thin, but it'll be enough for my pages. Okay, so it'll leave me some room to stick my pages in. Next thing we're gonna do is we're going to bind it real fast. So we need an awl, which is this pokey thing. And when I do this, well, I guess I could keep them all together. I'm gonna do it from the inside. I'm gonna come in about 1 inch, maybe even like 1.5 inches, and I'm gonna poke it all the way through. So be very careful. And then I'm gonna come in about 1.5 inches on this side. I am eyeballing it. If you want, you can totally measure it so it's precise, which is what real bookbinders do. I'm going to now put my pamphlet, I'm just gonna put the ugly light on so you can see a little bit better. Sorry, I know it's hideous. I'm gonna line this up on my cover. So I make sure it's centered. I have a little bit of space on either side, okay? And I'm just going to kind of mark in the middle of the cover spine the 2 marks that I want. And I'm just gonna poke through with my awl. Then I'm going to take a needle. So technically these are bookbinder needles, but you can use really big embroidery needles. And I'm going to take some waxed linen and I'm going to cut it at about 18 inches. That should give us enough. So let me trim a little bit more. I have to get all my scissors sharpened if possible. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my thread tie inside the book instead of the outside of the book. Okay. Now I'm sticking it through here. I'm going to put it through here like this. Come back in and tie it inside. Now, one extra thing that I like to do that not everybody has to do, I like to do is just add a little bit of tape. So on my spines, this is totally ornamental. It just reinforces your spine, but it's not necessary. I have some fabric bookbinding tape. There are two places that I get it. One is the Dina Wakley sticky back canvas tape. This is old. This is a 2-inch. They don't make anymore. Now they make one, it's 1.5 inches. The cool thing about the Dina Wakley tape is you can paint it and add color and make it your own. I also have tape from either Tina Walker or Dee Dee Catrone of Wow Studio. So they both have tape in their shop. So I'm going to use that today. And I'm just going to line it up with my cover and put it on. Just because I like a little decoration on my cover. Do you need to do this for this project? No, but I like to add it to my cover. And I'm just gonna trim it on the edge. It's very sticky. I didn't really get it there, but here's a cheap, this is my dad was all about shortcuts, so I always call it the Jeff Wisner way. There. You'll never know. You'll never know. Okay. So I'm going to repoke my holes again real quick. So I just wanted to show you, if you wanted to get the tape, how to do it. And if you don't have the tape and you don't want to bother, you don't have to. So I'm now going to put this in. The other last step that you can do, I'm not going to do today, is get a Crop-A-Dile and punch your holes and get some grommets in there. It looks really nice. But for the sake of time, I'm not getting my Crop-A-Dile out. Okay. So I'm gonna find my hole here, line it up with my pamphlet, try not to poke myself, and get it to come through. Okay. Okay. So now all we do is tie it. And I just do a nice tight double knot. Sometimes I'll do 3, but very rarely. Okay. That was a little too tight. So let's try that again. Maybe not so tight, Megan. Okay. And then I just trim it about 1 inch or so. Maybe 2 inches. Okay. So now you have a pamphlet book. You are ready to roll. Now, there are 2 options. We tied in the center, so that would be like this. On this one, I decide to tie on the outside, which I think looks just as cool. And I mix it up. I do both. The advantage to doing it out here is that you don't have any extra ties inside. Unlike in here, you have some ties there. I mean, neither one bothers me, and I forget and mix it up all the time. The other fun thing when you do it like this is you can add all kinds of extra ribbons. You can just pull them through and tie them on the outside. That looks fabulous. So that is like the easiest book structure ever that you could make. The only other recommendation that I make is getting a corner punch and rounding your corners. I do this for all of my journal covers because I tend to make these soft water color journal covers. And when you do the corner punch, it reduces the potential for the corners to get damaged, right? If you have paper corners and you're putting them in and out and using them, the chances of them getting damaged are pretty high. When you have the rounded corners, it really protects them. So that is the beginning of these journals. So this is what you need to make before we come back for our class. Now, in that time, some things you can do to set yourself up is add, so on my other one, I have a library pocket. You can make your own pocket. Just cut a piece of paper and glue it. But I have a little library pocket on my other one right here. And I have all these phrases. So we're going to talk about this probably in another class before we get to January. But we're going to make a whole bunch of these sayings. So if you want to do that ahead of time, you can, but it's not necessary. And I used all of my journaling stencils, my word stencils, and I just stenciled them on paper. So one good thing, if you're watching this and you're not doing, when you trim your paper, okay, so I took my 12 by 12 cardstock and I trimmed it, and now I have all these pieces left over. So in the next class, we're going to take all these scraps, or just scraps that you might have on hand, and make a whole bunch of fun things that we're going to use for our journals. The only other thing that you need to do today or tomorrow or whenever you want is make a cover. So I don't know if I have anything that's screaming cover. I love this chick. She's from my paper doll class. I just love her so much. But she's not great on the cover. I could do a mermaid. She's coming. She's going to be part of my new stickers. Mermaids are fun. Flower girl. Nothing is like jumping out at me right now. I'm a little low on my... hold on, let's see. My holiday themed tin. Could do a nesting doll. Nesting doll could be fun. I have this chick. She looks great on there, but right now I think I've put her on 2 or 3 covers of journals, which I don't normally do. This seems excessive. This chick is fun. Anyway, you get my point. You're gonna decorate your cover and come back to me. So we're gonna work on the covers, finish them up, and then meet back in another week or so. I just thought I'd get this out there because it's about to be very busy around here. Oh, look at Katie's little angel. I love that. I don't know. I haven't settled on anything, so I'm gonna work on that in the meantime and figure that out. But simple book makes a great gift, and we're gonna use this and work together and do little spreads in it in January. So maybe next week I might come back and just do a quick video on how to make all the these fun things that we're going to use and go from there. So I will see you again shortly, and we're going to continue in our self-care journal project.